For my 50th birthday, my family kept hinting at something special. Just wait, they said, with secretive smiles. Something big is coming. My wife Amanda would simply pat my hand when I asked, her eyes twinkling. Be patient, she insisted. On the actual day, I left work early, bought an expensive bottle of wine, and drove home with butterflies in my stomach. I walked into an empty house. No decorations. No note. Nothing. Hours later, scrolling through Facebook, I saw a photo of my entire family at a luxury beach resort. My son Jason had commented, "He will not even notice. We are gone. LOL. I did not respond. I did not call. I just watched. 3 days later, my WhatsApp exploded with 47 frantic messages begging me to answer. Hey there, before I continue this story, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever felt taken for granted by the people closest to you. I had always prided myself on being a good provider. 25 years as an architect at Wilson and Hargrove had taught me the value of hard work and dedication. Just last month, I had finally been promoted to senior partner after decades of 60-hour weeks and missed family dinners. The corner office with its sweeping city views felt like validation for all those sacrifices. My colleague Thomas was the only one at work who remembered my birthday, leaving a small gift bag on my desk with a bottle of scotch and a handwritten card. Home life had become increasingly strained over the past year. Amanda and I would pass like ships in the night, exchanging brief pleasantries before retreating to separate corners of our house. Our marriage of 25 years had weathered many storms, but lately it felt like we were drifting apart on calm seas, which was somehow worse. Jason, our 22-year-old son, was finishing his senior year at college, while Sarah, our 18-year-old daughter, had just started her freshman year. When they came home, they were constantly glued to their phones, barely acknowledging my presence. My mother-in-law, Margaret, had never fully approved of me despite my efforts to provide her daughter and grandchildren with financial security. Money is not everything, Brent, she would say with a dismissive wave whenever I mentioned a bonus or promotion. Her husband, Frank, mostly followed her lead, though occasionally he would give me an understanding nod when the women were not looking. The weeks leading up to my 50th birthday had been filled with mysterious whispers and knowing glances. Dad, you are going to be so surprised, Sarah had said during our weekly Sunday dinner, the only family tradition we still maintained. Amanda would change the subject whenever I tried to find out what they were planning. Stop trying to ruin your surprise, she would scold playfully, and I would back off, genuinely excited that they were making such an effort. The morning of my birthday, I decided to leave work at 3 in the afternoon, something I had not done in years unless someone was hospitalized. I stopped at the liquor store and purchased a $300 bottle of Cabernet I had been eyeing for a special occasion. Driving home, I allowed myself to feel hopeful about reconnecting with my family. Perhaps this milestone birthday would be a turning point for us. The garage was empty when I pulled in. No cars. Strange, I thought, but maybe they were setting up elsewhere. I walked through each room of our spacious suburban home, calling out. Nothing. No balloons, no cards, no cake. Just silence. I checked my phone repeatedly for missed calls or texts. Nothing. I even looked for a note on the refrigerator, but the stainless steel door was bare except for a pizza delivery magnet. As evening fell, I opened the wine alone and poured myself a generous glass. Out of habit, I scrolled through Facebook. That is when I saw it. A photo posted by Amanda, time-stamped 8 that morning. She, Jason, Sarah, Margaret, and Frank, all smiling broadly on a white sand beach, tropical drinks in hand. The caption read, "Surprise vacation. So needed this family time." There were dozens of comments from friends expressing their delight, and then I saw it. Jason's comment. "He will not even notice. We are gone. LOL." I stared at those words for a long time. My own son. The dismissive tone. The casual cruelty. And worst of all, the certainty that I would not notice their absence. On my 50th birthday. The milestone I had been looking forward to celebrating with them. The initial shock gave way to a hollow feeling in my chest as I kept staring at the photo. I zoomed in on their faces, searching for any sign of guilt or discomfort. There was none. Just pure, unrestrained joy at being together. Without me. I opened another tab and logged into our joint bank account. There it was, a withdrawal of $7,000 last week labeled vacation. My vacation fund that I had been adding to monthly for 3 years. My mind reeled back to previous family events. The graduations where I had shown up just in time for the ceremony, after rushing from important meetings. The anniversaries commemorated with expensive jewelry rather than quality time. The school plays watched through the lens of a camera while my mind wandered to pending projects. Had I really become so absent that my family believed I would not notice or care about their disappearance on my birthday? That first night alone in our house felt surreal. I wandered from room to room like a ghost, picking up framed family photos and studying them as if they might contain some clue I had missed. In our bedroom, I found shopping lists for the trip in Amanda's handwriting dated 2 months prior. This was no last-minute decision. They had been planning to abandon me on my birthday for weeks. I pulled out old photo albums from the closet, something I had not done in years. The progression was stark. In the early photos, I was central to family activities, holding toddler Jason on my shoulders at the zoo, teaching Sarah to ride a bike, embracing Amanda at sunset on our 10th anniversary trip. As the years passed, I appeared in fewer images, and when I did, I was often looking down at papers or a phone, physically present but mentally elsewhere. The next morning, I went to the office, despite having scheduled the day off. When Thomas saw me at my desk, he frowned. "Brent, what on earth are you doing here? Where is your family?" The big surprise, I forced a smile and mumbled something about a change of plans. Thomas was not fooled. Over lunch in his office with the door closed, I showed him the Facebook post. His expression darkened. "They did not even tell you. On your birthday?" he asked, incredulous. "Apparently, I am so disconnected they thought I would not notice," I replied, the words burning in my throat. Thomas was quiet for a moment. "You know, my ex-wife said something similar during our divorce. That I had become a walking ATM. It was easier to overlook because I believed I was doing it for them." He leaned forward. "But Brent, paying for someone's life is not the same as being in it." That evening, I checked social media again. More beach photos. Amanda ziplining through a tropical forest. Sarah and Jason swimming with dolphins. My in-laws enjoying a sunset dinner. No private messages checking if I was okay. No acknowledgement of my birthday at all. It was as if I had ceased to exist. Friends had continued commenting on their posts. Most were innocuous exclamations about how beautiful the resort looked or questions about activities. But one comment from Amanda's friend Diane caught my eye. "No Brent." On his birthday weekend, Amanda had replied, "He is too busy anyway." This way, everybody wins. Everybody wins. The casual dismissal cut deeper than outright anger would have. In their narrative, my absence was not just expected but preferred. The family vacation was better without me there to dampen their fun with my work preoccupations. The worst part was recognizing the grain of truth in it. I thought about the missed recitals, the abbreviated vacations when I would fly home early to handle a client emergency, the family meals interrupted by important calls. Each small abandonment had built a wall between us, brick by brick, until they no longer expected me to be present, even for the most significant moments. I had funded their lives, but forgotten to be part of them. As the second day alone stretched into the third, I found myself cycling through grief, anger, and a deep, profound sadness. I drafted and deleted dozens of text messages and emails. I picked up the phone to call the resort several times, but put it down again. What would I say? How could I explain the gaping wound their absence had created without sounding like I was playing the victim? Every few hours I would check their social media updates, torturing myself with glimpses of their happiness without me. A family volleyball game on the beach. A guided tour through a wildlife sanctuary. A group cooking class. All those activities I would have begged off from claiming work deadlines or exhaustion. Had I really become so predictable in my absence that they no longer bothered to include me, even in the planning? On the third day, just as I was preparing to head back to the office for another day of distraction, my phone began vibrating, incessantly. Message after message poured in through WhatsApp, first from Amanda, then from Jason and Sarah, then even from my in-laws. 47 messages in total, their tone evolving from casual inquiries to growing concern to outright panic. "Hey, babe, everything okay?" There was the first from Amanda. "Dad, can you answer?" Mom came several hours later from Jason. "Brent, please respond, we are worried." Sick was the most recent from Amanda. It seemed they had finally realized that something was amiss. That perhaps I had indeed noticed their absence. That maybe, just maybe, I had feelings that could be hurt. The final message came from Jason. "Dad, I am sorry about that stupid comment. Please just let us know you are okay." I sat with the phone in my hand for a long time, reading and rereading the messages. Part of me wanted to respond immediately to assure them I was physically fine if emotionally gutted. Another part, a stronger part I had not known existed, wanted them to experience just a fraction of the abandonment I had felt. As I contemplated my response, I realized something profound. Yes, they had abandoned me on my birthday in a breathtakingly thoughtless way. But had I not been emotionally absent for years, had I not taught them through my actions that work always came first, had I not modeled the very behavior they were now reflecting back to me, I decided to respond, but not in the way they expected. I crafted a message that was neither angry nor accusatory, but honest and firm. "I am safe. I noticed you were gone the moment I walked into our empty house on my birthday with a bottle of wine I had bought to share with you. I saw the posts. I read the comments. I understand now how absent I must have been in your lives for you to think this would go unnoticed or unhurtful. I need some time to process this. Please enjoy the rest of your vacation." I attached a photo of the expensive wine and the birthday cake I had ended up buying for myself from the local bakery. Then I did something I had not done in years. I requested 2 weeks of personal leave from the firm, effective immediately. When the managing partner called to ask if everything was all right, I simply said, "Family matters require my full attention." That afternoon I booked a cabin at Mountain Pine Retreat, a place I had always wanted to visit but had never made time for. The rustic lodge nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains was the opposite of the tropical resort. My family had chosen a serene environment for reflection, rather than endless activities and distractions. Within hours of arriving, I felt the tight coil of tension in my chest begin to unwind. I hiked trails winding through ancient forests, the physical exertion burning away the initial edge of my pain. I sat by mountain streams and read books that had been gathering dust on my nightstand for years. I rediscovered photography, a passion I had abandoned when the children were born and free time became scarce. At the communal dinners in the main lodge, I found myself engaging in conversations with strangers for the pure pleasure of human connection. A retired professor taught me about local bird species. A young couple on their honeymoon shared their dreams of starting an organic farm. And Andy, a 65-year-old meditation instructor, offered guidance on mindfulness practices that helped me process my swirling emotions without being consumed by them. "Presence is the greatest gift we can give others," Andy told me during an early morning hike. "But first we must learn to be present with ourselves and our own pain." Meanwhile, my phone continued to buzz with increasingly desperate messages from my family, who had cut their vacation short and returned home to find me gone with only a brief note explaining that I needed time alone to think. Amanda called repeatedly, her voice messages evolving from irritation to concern to tearful pleas. I responded only enough to assure them of my safety, but maintained my boundary of needing space. When I finally returned home 10 days later, I found them waiting anxiously in the living room, their faces a mix of relief and apprehension. The atmosphere was charged with unspoken emotions. "You could have at least answered your phone properly," my mother-in-law started, but Amanda silenced her with a sharp look. "Brent," Amanda said, her voice unsteady, "we need to talk about what happened." "Yes," I agreed calmly, setting my bag down. "We do. Not just about the vacation, but about the past several years. About how we got to a place where you all could leave on my 50th birthday without a word, and where your son could publicly joke that I would not even notice your absence." Jason flinched visibly at the reference to his comment. "Dad, I did not mean I know what you meant." I interrupted, not unkindly. "And that is the problem. You meant that I am so disconnected from this family that my own birthday could pass without me noticing you were all gone. The most painful part is recognizing the truth in that perception. The weeks that followed were both painful and healing. We began with a series of frank family discussions where each person spoke their truth without interruption. Sarah confessed she had stopped sharing details about college because Dad always seemed to be mentally calculating project costs during our conversations. Jason admitted he had grown to resent my emphasis on career success even as he found himself following a similar path in his own life. Amanda revealed her loneliness in our marriage and how my in-laws had convinced her that showing me what it felt like to be excluded might serve as a wake-up call. "We never meant to hurt you so deeply," she said, tears streaming down her face. "We thought you would call right away when you saw we were gone, and then we would all have a conversation about being more present in each other's lives. We never imagined you would just watch silently for 3 days." "I spent a lot of time reflecting on why I reacted that way," I explained. "I realized I had been living with the subconscious belief that my only value to this family was financial. When you left without telling me using money I had saved, it confirmed that fear. I felt replaceable, unnecessary, except for my paycheck." My mother-in-law looked genuinely shocked. "But you always seemed so confident, so self-sufficient, like you did not need us as much as we needed you." "That was a wall I built," I admitted. "It was easier to seem detached than to acknowledge how much it hurt when work pulled me away from family moments." Somewhere along the way, I started believing my own act. We agreed to enter family therapy where a skilled counselor helped us establish new patterns of communication and expectations. I restructured my work schedule, delegating more responsibilities to junior partners and setting firm boundaries around family time. I declined the international expansion project that would have meant frequent trips to Asia despite the prestige it would have brought. At home, we instituted weekly family meetings where everyone shared their upcoming schedules and important events. Board game nights became a sacred tradition with phones banished and work discussions forbidden. I learned to listen more deeply when my children spoke, focusing on their emotional needs rather than jumping to problem-solving mode. The healing was not linear. There were setbacks and arguments as old patterns threatened to reassert themselves. One night when I missed dinner due to a client emergency, Sarah accused me of reverting to my old ways. Instead of becoming defensive, I acknowledged her fear and worked with her to create a plan for how to handle similar situations in the future. Amanda and I began having regular date nights, rediscovering aspects of each other we had forgotten existed. During one such evening over dinner at the restaurant where we had celebrated our first anniversary, she confessed, "I gave up on trying to compete with your work years ago. It seemed easier to build a life around your absence than to keep fighting for your attention. I mistakenly thought providing well was the same as loving well." I responded, reaching for her hand across the table. "I was trying to give you and the kids everything my own family had lacked materially." "We never needed more things," she said softly. "We just needed more you." 3 months after the birthday incident, we celebrated my half-birthday with a small gathering at home. No extravagant gifts, no elaborate surprises, just quality time with the people I loved. As I blew out the candles on my cake, I made a silent wish for the wisdom to maintain the lessons I had learned through this painful awakening. Later that night, as Amanda and I lay in bed talking about the day, she asked, "Do you think you could ever fully forgive us for what we did?" I considered the question carefully. "Forgiveness is not about erasing what happened," I said finally. "It is about choosing to build something new on that foundation rather than remaining trapped in the pain. I have forgiven you, but I will not forget the lesson. Life has a way of teaching us what matters most through moments of profound disruption. For me, it took the shock of an empty house on my 50th birthday to realize that success means nothing without connection. That presence, not presence, is the true currency of love. That being irreplaceable at work means little if you are replaceable at home. I still work as an architect, but my masterpiece is no longer found in the buildings I design. It is in the relationships I am carefully reconstructing one meaningful moment at a time. As I approach 51, I find myself more engaged, more present, and paradoxically more effective in all areas of my life. By loosening my grip on control and perfection, I have gained something far more valuable, authentic connection with the people who matter most. So I ask you, when was the last time you felt truly seen and valued by those closest to you? Have you ever prioritized achievements over relationships, only to discover the emptiness of success without sharing it? Drop your thoughts in the prompt comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Remember, it is never too late to shift your priorities and show up for the people you love. Thank you for listening, and may you find the courage to be present in your own life before a painful wake-up call forces your hand.